Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time. My name is Asli. I am a founder of Tardino 6 art platform. This is Baku-based self-organized art initiative. And we have recently started our Zoom events called Tap Talks. And the topic of this series is Incorporeity. We have 3 colleagues joining us in different days to discuss this subject through various prisms. Today we are joined by Thomas Dumke. He's a coordinator and art manager and coordinator of the web residencies of Akademie Schloss Solitude. We met Thomas in summer last year as a part of online civil match program. We've never met in person, but since then we have been in touch and have been sharing information, inspiration and knowledge. And we're very grateful and happy for the opportunity that he has accepted our invitation to give further information about his practice, the Akademie Schloss Solitude in general, and web residencies in particular. So thank you very much, and please, the floor is yours, Thomas.
Introduction to the Akademie Schloss Solitude International Artist Residency Program. So I would like to present you some information about the fellowship program, the conditions and the benefits, and would like to present some spheres of practice. What about the thematic focus, and then for sure we'll go more deeper in our current practices according to pandemic time we are living at the moment, and what we initiated to keep in contact with all of our alumni and fellows. And for sure, what I would like to go more deeper into is this web residency program. So one moment, I prepared presentation for you, which I will activate now. So that's it. That is the castle Solitude, based in Stuttgart, Germany. So the location is a late Baroque Solitude castle built in the late 18th century as a hunting lodge and summer residence. So soon it was used as the military academy. And one of the students, may you know, Friedrich Schiller, was still there as well. And later, Solitude was used for an array of functions, including military hospital, as a restaurant, as a prison, and a student dormitory. So, but what you see on the left hand, these officers and cavaliers buildings, these are the living and working exhibition area of the Akademie Schloss Solitude since 1990. Yeah, Akademie Schloss Solitude is an international and transdisciplinary artist residence. Its unique model affords artists and scientists valuable freedom to develop their work and perform research in both a physical and digital context. Akademie Schloss Solitude, wide-ranging fellowship program, promotes the interrelationship of art and science across all disciplines and fields of practice. Special programs address relevant thematic focuses. The Academy provides broad public access to artistic thought and action thanks to the diverse range of public events. It's a fundamental to the Academy's work to constantly engage with digital technologies and issues in a way that integrates a wide variety of perspectives, and above all, it's not limited to Western knowledge of digitality and digital infrastructures. But I will talk about this more in detail later. continue with the General Fellowship Program. So the program supports young artists, scholars, scientists, as well as cultural and economic professionals via residential fellowships only. So if you are interested in a residential fellowship, then the next call for the next period will be published in the spring. So may you just note this URL, or I can copy it later again in the chat. I think in April or May, we are ready to publish the next submission form. And then for sure, if you're interested, you can submit there. But what are the conditions in general? If you would like to supply, you should not be older than 40 years old. What we don't accept are applications from students enrolled in degree programs, or if you're already a PhD student. For sure, you can apply as well as an artist group. And yeah, well, 2 times, or as an artist group, but then you have to submit as a single person. The candidates, the application round for Solitude Fellowship are held every 2 years. So the jury awards a maximum of 65 fellows. That means 45 fellows could live and work in studios, and 3 guest studios, which are available. And what do you benefit? The fellowship includes a free furnished living working studio, including electricity, water, and heating, a monthly fellowship grant of €1,200, and we are covering the travel expenses for arrival and departure on a one-time basis. So the Academy also offers optional additional benefits, which are adjustable in accordance with the current budget situation. For sure, transport expenses, subsidy for the carriage of materials, tools, instruments, and books to Stuttgart, and from Stuttgart to the fellows' hometown. The fellows will get as well project funding and a one-off material subsidy. And we take care for a health insurance in case if you are not a non-European fellowship candidate. Yeah, fellows may use the Academy's carpentry and metal workshops under the supervision of the resident managers. They also have access to a digital film editing studio, a printing and copying room, 2 small libraries, and several computer workstations. Yeah, so what I maybe already mentioned, but we have 45 living and working studio and 3 guest studios. These studios are usually only equipped for 1 person due to their size and the building's historic design. But for sure, if you, it could be an option that we will be able to accommodate as well family partners or your companion or your friend. Yeah, what are the spheres of practices? I mean, I just listed here in the presentation just shortly this 7 spheres, and it's not like thinking in art disciplines which are separated to each other. It's really that we think in spheres of practices which could emerge, merging to each other. So if international artists, scientists, scholars, or business representatives would like to submit, then they apply for fellowships in these spheres. The visual, it's typical for the visual arts and media, includes painting, sculpture, drawing, installation film, video printing, ceramics, textiles, performance. Or the aural and physical sphere. It's more related to music and performing arts. This includes music interpretation and composition, sound installation, sound performance, dance, choreography, drama, theater, music theater, dramaturgy, and or directing. Then another sphere is called spatial. So it's more dedicated to architecture and design, means it includes architecture, urban planning, landscape architecture, applied arts, design, stage design, fashion design, costume design, product design, furniture design. Another sphere is textual. It means literature and language. So it includes German language and international literature in all written forms. Essays, translations, text, lyrics, dramatics. Then we have as well this societal, communal-based work. This is really focusing on art criticism, critical theory, curation, art education, socially engaged art. And another sphere is scientific. This is about art, science, and business, humanities, social, natural, and economic sciences. And last but not least, the digital solitude, including digital art, gaming, hacking, computing, programming, web-based video, production and installation, digital journalism, or digital publishing. So Akademie Schloss Solitude is expanding its profile with the addition of a thematic focus to the 2019 application round for fellows joining the Academy in 2020 to 2021. So from 2020 onwards, the Academy is launching a new program with a specific content-related focus, which a group of 7 fellows is invited to investigate in any way they wish, or a period of 9 months. With this thematic focus, the Academy wishes to consolidate the importance accorded by society to transdisciplinary and discursive artistic work, providing content-related momentum. So that's as well something of the thematic focus, which is changing, or even each second or third year. In that case, you would really like to be more flexible. And the current theme is called mutations. But even according to the pandemic time, the original plan was for a group of 7 selected fellows to work together on the topic of mutations over a period of 9 months on site at the Akademie Schloss Solitude. But it was not always possible to, it was not possible to invite all of the members of the group. So yeah, mutations, maybe it's, I think it's quite not relevant topic at the moment. So mutations are processes with unpredictable consequences. It's transformation, loss of control, and irreversibility, but also diversity, metamorphosis, and hybridity. It is interminacy and associative richness, and makes mutations uncanny and attractive at the same time. They contradict the existing order, challenge hierarchies, and perhaps herald the dawn of a new age. So let's go to the sphere of the digital solitude. The digital solitude places its focus on the interrelationship of physical and digital space. The program promotes the public visualization and communication of the themes of the Solitude Network and digital cultures. So the digital solitude initiates innovative alternative approaches in dealing with digital media and technologies in order to make these effective for transformation processes within our society. Through the fellowship, web residencies, and alternating publications in mediation formats within the framework of this program, Akademie Schloss Solitude promotes the speculative and critical examination of artistic practice and media developments within digital culture. The application and transfer of knowledge about open source practices, the design of low threshold access, and the enabling of collaborative processes for participation in transformation developments play a decisive role in this process. The Digital Solitude program aims to combine artistic and scientific research with the forward-looking technical developments. Digital practice fields are sustainably interwoven with values and methods of the art. So, what does it mean in more detail if you would have a fellowship in the digital field of practice? The digital field of practice is designed to be interdisciplinary and multi-actional. The program is open to artists, activists, experts, and creative individuals, as well as coders, hackers, and journalists who work and research in the digital field or understand it is an active space for action. The fellowships are awarded by 2 jurors within the framework of Akademie Schloss Solitude calls for applications. So in this case, the digital program offers great scope of different forms of participation and involvement, both online and offline. Fellows can contribute to the editing and publication of content for the Solitude journal and the Solitude blog, and realize their own project or workshops, for example, in collaboration with Stuttgart universities or other organizations. Yeah, traveling and change of traveling, I think it's one of our things we did last decades quite a lot. And traveling is the change of location, and therefore the change of perspective are considered elementary to the residency's experience. In times of the pandemic, the question emerged how it can expand the regular fellowship program into a digital space as a virtual academy and include those fellows in particular who cannot be on site in Stuttgart due to travel restrictions. So how we can maintain the mediation claim for our daily work with experimental interaction formats. So therefore, we developed so-called learning units, which have a character of online events and workshops. And one of them I would like to explain a bit more deeper. This is the thesis lecture series. For example, we invited Nikita Darwan. But yeah, online lectures and workshop series about transformation, subtitle Unfolding the Future. These online lectures and workshop series brought together international scientists and artists who made significant contributions on the question of how we want to shape our society and our coexistence. In their research, they raise questions on new concepts for social transformations, political inventions, and solidarity. The role that artists and artistic production plays in the unfolding of the future is at the core of the lecture and workshop series. For example, we invited on September 1st, on September 23rd, Nikita Darwan with a thesis lecture called "The Future is a Risk Masquerading as a Promise." And what I would like to explain to you is a special method we try to apply it's called DEALS and was proposed by Nishan Shah. DEALS stands for Distributed Engaged Asynchronous Lecture Series. And I was quite convinced for the moment, if I have read for the first time this proposal, because on one hand, we ask ourselves always, okay, how much attention we can give to a lecture. Maybe you remember your experience at the universities. Please ask yourself about 45 minutes or 90 minutes attention to a lecture, and compare it maybe now with this new generation of digital culture. So it's always the idea how we can build, create, let's say, a temporary community about our content we would like to provide to our fellows and to externals. So the idea behind DEALS format is an option of radically thinking a lecture to engage with the distributed and global communities of the Academy. It is a response both to the global health pandemic and the climate crisis, thinking about accessibility and affordances of participation without travel. It harnessed the possibilities of digital connections in order to rethink how lectures can be reshaped using low-tech, off-the-shelf, resource-light solutions that depend on the structure and participation rather than the technological infrastructure. So this is maybe what I like to explain. Is, so we invited, for instance, Nikita Taiwan to have to create 3 theses and to record these 3 theses in short videos. And these 3 videos had been recorded by her own at home or at the site where she had been already. And at one moment we published these 3 videos on our Vimeo platform and invited everybody to watch them. And even this was combined to a Padlet environment. That means that we even opened up a digital Padlet, where you could watch the videos and add comments to all of these 3 videos, or even would like to add something. So this was the option to participate online. And what we did on site at the Academy, we invited our fellows to watch these 3 videos together. So for instance, like a meeting or watching party or workshop, to watch these 3 videos together and talk about them collectively, and to form a kind of temporary community around this thesis lecture. And what is quite interested in, so that we had 6 weeks time to do this, and during this 6 weeks we are collecting all the questions and comments and additional knowledge add-ons for the live conversation which took place 6 weeks later between Nikita Taiwan and Maria Toma Castro. And this is somehow our strategy, how to build and implement different kind of target groups and keep always the activities of the Academy quite open. Another online format is called the ecosystem of knowledge. This is an online format by the Academy which initiates a platform for collective work developed by the fellows around a self-selected theme. In continuous working conversations, methods of artistic and scientific practice are exchanged in order to arrive at a new understanding of the topic under investigation. The goal of the format is to develop variety of transdisciplinary approaches and to learn from each other as a group. Ecosystems describe a dynamic community of diverse individuals that are closely connected but permeable to external influences. Yeah, these two examples should just present somehow our daily work according to the fellows and to provide knowledge to activate our fellows. And now I would like to, it's a written spelling thing, it's called Fellowship Program, sorry. So I will just try go straightforward to the web residencies, which is one of the fellowship programs next to others. You see there as well this Jean-Jacques Réseau fellowship, another fellowship for cultural journalism and digital media, and so on. And one of them is the web residencies. Yeah, the web residency program was initiated by the Akademie Schloss Solitude in 2016 to support young talents from the international digital scene, as well as artists from all disciplines who deal with web-based practices to present the processes and results of their work online. For each call, a curator selects 4 project proposals whose creators are rewarded with a 4-week residency and a mini grant of €750. So artists are invited to experiment with digital technologies and new art forms and reflect to the topics set by the curators. For the topic selection, the Academy invites a Euro who drafts a topic-oriented call in coordination with the annual theme of the Academy and publishes it over a period of 4 weeks, inviting applications. The selected web residents, together with the staff or the Academy's digital program, external and creative professionals, and the respective art coordinator of the Academy. These trias form a temporary collective to temporarily fill the respective space with projects. In addition, the people involved will be asked about their artistic practice and motivation. So, for instance, what drives you, which will be published as an interview. So the Akademie Schloss Solitude's web residencies are conceived as a future call for more radical thinking about the self-evidence of digital technologies in the media culturally shaped present. The online interventions are meant to involve aesthetically and theoretically active artists, designers, cyborgs, hackers, and researchers who significantly use their bodies as a means of expression in the context of retreating present between digital technologies, net cultures, and political necessity. They see themselves as a kind of XPUB, which means experimental publishing, approaching publishing from the perspective of a transdisciplinary practice to test a wide range of methods and workflows and invent new ones. Web residencies are intended as an opening and expansion of the real space of action of the Akademie Schloss Solitude and its fellows, though they are intended as an opportunity for the emergence of future structures of social transformation, as well as visualization of topics of the Academy's community and its networks. With the implementation of this residency program, we contribute significantly to the establishment of temporary free spaces in the countries of the respective person, as well as permanently online. This enables critical and proactive discussion about our own, as well as the future of Europe. So if you ask me about the selection procedure, for sure the open call take place 3 times a year, ideally, which are curated by invited experts or collectives. The curators select 4 people or collectives to participate for a 4-week rep residency within the framework of each call. And all these works are presented online in our web space, which I'll present to you next minute. And formally, this is also means that the web residency does not necessarily have to correspond then to the previous model. That means what we try to transform as well this original created model, that we just select 4 web residents, which are more individuals, and adopt more the contemporary practice that even how people or how artists are working together, this form is more has more the character of a collective work. So, but what they can offer us are really community classes, open workshops, mini hackathons, listening sessions, and so on. So in the future, as the organization of such artist residencies, we will add further criteria for decision on implementation. This concerns the consideration, for example, criteria of the World Wide Web Consortium. Maybe you know it, this W3C consortium. In particular, the approach of a low threshold accessibility of content, and as well as a barrier-free design, or also an inclusion of criteria of sustainability in the sense of educational offers for sustainable developments. At the same time, the previous format for promoting young digital talents has proven its worth and should also continue to find its counterpart in the annual planning. Yeah, so let's go online, but therefore I need to change the screen. So we are now at the web space of the web residencies of the Akademie Schloss Solitude. And maybe just to report some numbers of our last 2 calls. As in 2020, we released 2 calls. One was Muntu Maxims by Kampala based, as a Ugandan based curator Nantuno Violet. And the second was Post-Doom by Berlin, Los Angeles based writer, songwriter, musician Joanna Hetwa, called Post-Doom. So then you see already these 2 calls here. And by these 2 calls, we had arrived more than 500 applications. And behind this 500 applications had been more than 800 participants as single individuals from different parts of the world. So for sure, if I just to name some regions, South Africa, Central Europe, North America, Southeast Asia, but let's go to Muntu Maxime. So if you are enter the space, then you are able to get an introduction to the call again, the idea behind Muntu Maximes. So yeah, no, the immanence of spiritual beings that permeate daily life is expressed as a continuous awareness of submissions through greetings, solutions, proverbs, verbal invocations, names, songs, religious rituals, and ceremonies, myth, folks, tales, and fables. These often features animals, legendary creatures, plants, inanimate objects, or forces of nature to convey fundamental principles contingent to a philosophy. So artists who submitted, here we looked via these kind of classes to the proposals. And I would like to present you one of the projects we selected. And it's the South African-based artist Kenzani Makari. He proposed, no, she proposed a digital power object called Zibuli Zinkizi. So Kenzani creates a digital power object, a meditative gesture on archiving and the excavation of pre-colonial history. This project draws from the immanent tension between remembering and forgetting in modern society that pours over and permeates cyberspace, given how little agency we have over how and where our information and memories are stored. The work references and represents the thousands of artifacts, repositories of ancestral spirits, which were relegated to cabinets of curiosity, storage rooms, and vitrines in museums on distant shores, and thousands more which were destroyed under fire under the advent of colonialism. Today, the history and meaning of these objects continues to challenge Africans, anthropologists, and curators alike. So what Kenzani did during her residency, she created, actually she selected an old Nkizi, as an old power figure based on woods, and did a 3D scan of it and uploaded this 3D model for download here. So if you just enter here, you can download this 600 megabyte file, and you will be able to print this figure by your own. So if you have any problems or you need to solve a spiritual issue which you have in mind, just try to do a practice. So therefore, Kenzani published an introduction or as well as some guidelines here. So print the sculpture to the size to your preference. After printing, write a list of all the things that bring chaos into your life. Collect sharp iron objects. Peruse the sculpture with the iron objects as you read through the list of chaotic things. And nail every problem. Think of this as an incantation or revocation. And when done perusing the object, burn the piece of paper with all the problems. Keep the sculpture in a space on your home. It should face a wall or window. And repeat it, this ritual. And this is what I mean, you know, this is somehow the change of our current residency practice or even online practices. On one hand, we are focusing on themes and not on the newest technological web-based application. So we are more interested in how we can encounter people, also how we can bring people together, or even in case of Kenzani, how can an object can bring people together, and even there's as well this belief behind the more people do power to this Nkisi, the more power this Nkisi will get. So it's already again about community building and distributed, allocated practices. We will have a break in some minutes, but I would like to go back to one thing which I mentioned in the beginning. You know, when I was talking about one of the general principles of the Academy, especially to promote the knowledge and perspective of the non-Western, I did an interview with Kenzani Makari, and we talked about Bantu cosmology and their understanding between the lost knowledge of using traditional culture practices and the new everyday media technologies. So the interview will be published soon, but I would like to read one section. So I was asking her, so there are no perceptible limits in your daily dealings with analog or digital media? So she answered to me, it is an affirmation of the internet as a real space, where Nkisi can exist and its power can spill over into the real world and the lived experience. It's a new dimension. I don't think humanity understands what we have created with the internet. You know, it's accelerated the time. If you look at from a Moore's law perspective, it is accelerated faster than we have as a society. We are dealing with a state of perpetual war, collective trauma, collective amnesia on a global scale, right? And in South Africa, we are dealing with issues like gender-based violence and high crime rates and serious corruption in the government. And it's like we have created these advanced technologies that are more advanced than us. Technology is evolving faster than people, evolving faster than the humanities and psychologies, and most of these are evolving faster than the law. It's developing faster than our government, faster than our civilization. So what does that mean for the future? At the moment, we are in the Internet of Things, and we are shifting into the Internet of the body. It's sort of like we are already cyborgs. Our phones are like prosthetics to us. And me, I would put a phone on the same level like in Nkisi. Both of those things for me are the same interface, in the sense that they store information and that they connect two different spaces together. We are in different time zones, different climates, land gradients, values, but somehow we are able to connect right now. Nkisi has the same attributes in the sense that it connects the spiritual world to the physical world, and the physical and the spiritual world is very different from the physical world. Yeah. Feel free to practice it by your own, or just let me know. I'll just try to switch to the presentation again. Yeah. That was somehow a short, rough ride through the activities of the Academy. We can have a break and kind of Q&A for a moment. And if you're still hungry for more projects, I feel really glad to present you as well some more projects. But yeah, let's go back to Asli.
Well, thank you, Thomas, for your presentation. It was, I learned quite a few things about the recent projects of the web residencies. In general, I do feel that Akademie Schloss Solitude, when it was launched in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, has been quite an interesting example and had a quite visionary approach to art residencies. Also, I remember following a Zoom presentation of Jean-Baptiste Joly, the founding director of Akademie Schloss Solitude, who explained that the web residencies was established in response to immobility and administrative struggles linked to travel for artists from certain geographies. Well, it's quite interesting how this approach has been already seen necessary a few years back. Obviously now, in the past year, we observe a number of art institutions, art residencies, trying to adapt themselves to new conditions, introducing some digital projects, some of them successful, some of them less successful, because it's it's not easy to manage something of value. And I would like to ask, what is, how your team, how you are currently keeping up with the legacy of that Akademie Schloss Solitude has built in the past 2-3 decades? And what is your overall idea of the development of art residencies in general, taking the present day situation of immobility? Thank you. And later on, we'll read some questions that we have from the audience as well.
Yeah, also, if I got it right, the founding date is according to the early 90s, as in 1990, it was founded, the Akademie Schloss Solitude. And for sure, maybe we have to open up a bit a broader focus on what is artist residency spaces, which role they are playing in all this cultural scene, or let's say in the art market, locally and even more globally. Because if you really look back into the 80s or 90s, such kind of artist residency programs have been an instrument for diplomacy, and even in the context of the globalization, there was as well a change according to the art production. That means that you are not produce your artwork on site where you're living, where you are embedded in your regular environment, because this was as well, let's say, one of the guideline or idealistic ideas, or even this thing that you as a person need to change your regular environment, and even this results as well the change of a perspective to things you observed or which you are interested in. And to offer this to a lot of people from different kind of regions, you need this kind of, let's say, guest house, or a house where you offer hospitality, where you offer workshops or tools, and even and provide as well some budgets and resources where you can maybe forget that you had a job beside your artist career, or you are punished in your home country, or you cannot say what you want in your home country, and so on. So we are talking about a safe space that we are offer, that for a period of time you can focus on your artistic research or develop projects together with others. And this is as well the really cool phenomena of the Akademie Schloss Solitude, because it's really this huge one. I know we have 43 studios, and sometimes up to until 50 artists on the same time in the castle. And there you can, then in this moment you are creating as well a really diverse situation, as a really a situation with people from different kinds of origin, with different kind of knowledge background, and so on and so on. And this is really this value which creates art projects, or even creates new practices of how we encounter each other, and methods of developing new methods of whatever, you know. And yeah, according to this second part of the question, according to pandemic times, with all these travel restrictions, and this in the, let's say, on nation state created restrictions, then for sure there is at the moment a huge cut into our daily practice, because let's say 1/3 of the intended fellows of the last period of the fellowships program was not able to enter Stuttgart last year. And for sure we are still in negotiation with them to make everything possible to bring them to Stuttgart. But for sure, then you have to deal with all the foreign offices and other authorities to argue why an artist has to come to us, because this is what we are experiencing each day. That, for example, if you are an artist in your profession, it's not equivalent to a typical businessman. You know, also to get a visa to Germany or to Europe in general, at the moment, you have better chances or more arguments if you're a businessman or woman, opposite to an artist. And then we are just already on the discussion which values you, or even if a student, yeah, so if you're a student in a typical university in Germany, you are able to get a visa much more easier as a fellow at the Akademie Schloss Solitude, because you're an artist. So this is really a lot of, because if you have, let's say, 45 or 50 fellows, then you have 45 individual cases which you have to deal for. So this is as well how we understand our work as staff, you know, as an employee within the academy, that this kind of structure is really there to assist the fellows to come to us. For sure, if there are some of the staff members who are working there already since 30 years, so since the beginning, and for sure they know the persons in this authority, and they know this persons there, this ministry, and so on. So there's already a lot of experience behind this institution to deal with these artists. And for sure, they grow up with this new generation, which maybe even from Indonesia or from Chile or from Iran or Israel. There are always special cases, and to create these invitations and to get the visa, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, indeed, it is. And we haven't tackled the gender issue, but for example, I know that in some European countries have more difficulty to give visas to women, because they have an idea that women come to Europe for to stay and to make like fake marriages, and we've experienced this kind of attitude among our colleagues. So it's indeed art residencies aim to develop connections, horizontal relations, but we still do have these challenges of trying to explain and to build the bridges of culture and dialogue between various countries, cultures, societies. I do have now read the questions from the audience, and one of them is very similar to what I actually wanted to ask you, but I will ask the one from the audience. So how are the communities of residents in person are different, if at all, from the web residents? Are there any unique outcomes from either groups? So please.
Okay, for sure, this, let's say, regular or on-site fellowship program is really, it's a, let's say, a more intensive program. For sure, you can choose the period of time you would like to stay, until 6 months or 9 months on-site. You can use the workshops on site, and for sure, if you have this longer period on site, you get as well more encounters and more relations to the Stuttgart cultural scene, or even for sure, if you're already there, other fellows or alumni of the Academy will take you to Berlin or to other cities, to exhibitions, or we do a guided tour to Karlsruhe or to next festival, next site. So for sure, this is to be on site. This is more the vivid, let's make the more vivid or vital or more dynamic experience, I would say. And for sure, what I told you as well in the according to the benefits you get if you are a fellow, there's this monthly grant of 1,200 euro, the studio, the project budget, if you would like to present something during your residency. And for sure, this is, we know, if you talk about online fatigue, to be constantly 4 weeks online, even with me or with my colleagues, it takes as well a lot of energy. And this in opposite, what is benefit as well from the web residency. For sure, we try to check what kind of facilities the web residence has already. Is it already able to publish their intended project by their own, or do we need to supply assistance to her or him? And this will we offer. Also, my colleague Sven, who is already programming the web space, he takes time or he is doing appointments with web residents. So they're explaining what we like to do, and then they do it as a couple, or let's say tandem constellation. They bring all this content online, and this is during these 4 weeks. This typical, one-to-one email correspondence, or they have appointments via video conference system, chatting each other and so on. and as a group, if we selected 4 web residents, we creating as well something like a messenger groups like Signal or Telegram, so that we are connected to each other. And for sure, if one is living in Chile and one is living in Iran, then you're living in different kind of time periods. So sometimes at night, it's my phone is just doing noise because there's a new message, and yeah, but that's life somehow. But it makes somehow as well interesting. We are somehow this secondary real-time experience, this asynchronous being together on a mental way, because we are a collective for this 4 week. And for sure, if we after this 4 weeks we keep somehow in contact and keep somehow in touch. For example, I described this ecosystem of knowledge, or this other thesis lecture series. So step by step, you get involved more in our program planning and regular activities. And so this is independently if you are an on-site fellow or web residents. If you feel somehow it's merging to each other, then we keep the community and keep the contact and the communication and try to develop projects. And this is for sure, even the digital program tries to apply for extra funding. But this is what maybe I have to mention as well, because for sure, this regular fellowship program is really close at the Ministry of Culture, Science and Art of the country Baden-Württemberg. So it's a public foundation. But digital program is really a project. It's really a program which is flanked, or let's say program, by this regular program. But that means as well, we need always again new projects to continue on things we are doing. And this is, on one hand, we experienced the last years more and more this digitalization of everything. And independently from the German culture scene, then they have as well not so intense. If you talk all these public theaters and public museums and so on, they are doing this digitalization now. But for sure, this even in Germany or in Europe, this so-called digital culture, which grow up with the internet, they accepting the internet as their living environment, and they deal with the daily tools and so on. And I think this will change more and more how these experience of our daily life, according to artistic practice and the general conditions and focus of the regular fellowship program. And this maybe the first step was this spheres, which I presented to you, and the digital program is one of the spheres. And I think this digital sphere will get more influence all the others as well. Yeah.
So it will be like you try to find some synergy and overlap between the physical and the digital.
So merging aspects. Now, where are the interfaces?
But with the physical residences, it's quite clear because there is like a group of people in physical space and at the same time they have a structured program. There are curators and visitors who could come, and this is facilitated by the management of the residency. But then who is the audience, and what is the professional benefit apart from having a digital project presented on your platform? What are the present and follow-up benefits for the artist to be a part of this residency, how this legacy continues and connections evolve?
There are really different kind of, let's say, best practices, So for example, if you are a writer and you used your time in Stuttgart to make networks with other theaters in the region, and if there's another theater director from Freiburg, which is another city, or from Karlsruhe, who likes you, and then he is inviting you, then you are in. Or if there's another example from of the sound artists who has been fellow last period, as last summer, which I invited to one of my projects, which I'm doing beside my academy activities for the Shape platform. And this is because if we are coming together, you know, this is what I mean. This is somehow. So on one hand, there are as well these art coordinators at the academy. They are trying to drive or push this kind of networking. And on one hand, we are doing as well public presentations, mainly 3 times a year. That's called the mini festivals. For sure, it will have been not able to do it during the pandemic because contact restriction and so on. But therefore, we organized as well small exhibitions or studio visits. And these studio visits, the artist can use even to apply for as promotion material or to create, let's say, to highlight it in your portfolio. This is even most people are using this their stay at Solitude for these reasons. Now networking, pushing your portfolio, and get more contacts or get into these communities which already exist on the city, also on site, or let's say Hamburg, Berlin, or whatever. Yeah. And which we are supporting this. You know, there's as well from internal structure. There's a daily, a weekly newsletter internally where we're collecting, for instance, several kind of calls or even public events in the city. So this is, what we are always collecting and communicating. And one additional point, but because you mentioned that we are structuring their schedule, let's say, or their curriculum, it's actually not really that way because everything is optional. You know, as we cannot force them to participate because this freedom as an artist, you can still keep. But on the other hand, for sure, we try to involve them because even for me, it's not fun if I try to organize something and they do not participate. So for sure, it's somehow oscillating that we try to engage our own fellows, but as well young emerging artists from the city of Stuttgart or even from the region, from the university. This is somehow our main target groups where we see the networking would make sense.
Mm-hmm. We actually have one more question in the from the Q&A, which I would like to read to you. What are some of the most interesting or surprising cross-disciplinary collaborations that have come out of the residency program? I suppose this is probably related to web residencies, but if you also have an example from a physical residency, we are happy to know.
I mean, for me personally, I would not, how to say, judge it because I always think expect the unexpected, you know. For sure, but this is even such kind of residency is needed for, or even can use to. Means even if you propose us first looking strange constellation, for example. A farmer is working together with an architect from Chile, or let's say, or a gardener based in Stuttgart with a bioscientist from where else? I don't know, you know, but this is somehow, I think, it's my opinion. It's always this human encounter, you know, as if they feel they come together, they are doing something together.
Yeah.
Independently from the project results or something.
Mm-hmm. Speaking then about human encounters, like we do observe in recent months, years, the fact that art professionals are more keen to do some collective practices, or they are also are doing participatory projects now, growing very much in number. And is it somehow reflected in the strategy and the vision of the residency?
Yeah. Also the next call or let's say the next web residency we would like to implement is together with the Digital Feminism Collective, based different kind of places and sites in Germany. And maybe this could be as well the first level. I really would like to establish more and more this direct digital encounter, that you really offer and provide performance lectures or workshops for toolkits, or just maybe how to create a face filter for being online in Instagram or somewhere else, but it's really, I think it will happen in April. There won't be a call, there won't be any theme. It's just that I would like to invite this collective to take care of the fellows, and for sure as well others, externals, would like to participate, because what I feel that people need more and more time together. This is sometimes what, even in the time of pandemic, if you are on the lockdown and you're not able to go out for different kinds of reasons, you're really looking for context that somebody is talking to you, or even just to get the feeling of a digital touch or whatever. And I wouldn't say about entertaining, but it's somehow, hey, there's a trustee or a collective who takes you and others for 90 minutes with one ritual, with one workshop, or with the experiences and knowledge or practices they did last years, to share their experiences. Yeah.
Well, speaking about 90 minutes, we're approaching our limit of today's event. Unless there are any questions from the audience, let us check. What we could do, we could take last minutes of our encounter to give some important announcements. You've mentioned that you will have the next round for residency in March, but it's for physical residency.
Right. Also the regular fellowship program we are working at the moment on, because we have to invite as well the Euros and all the submission forms and so on. This we are working on, and I think it will be published late March, early April. The next publishing of web residency projects will be by mid of February. And what else? Yeah, the next online event, which is created by the art coordinators of the Academy, together with the fellows, will be by the end of March. At this date you can really write already in your notebooks. It's 18th to 20th of March. There will be an online event created with content and projects by the fellows.
Oh, very good. It coincides with our New Year in Azerbaijan. We celebrate it in March. It's called Nowruz.
Okay.
Coming back to our part of the world, or digital world, as Tardino, we are continuing our Zoom events and encounters. If you enjoyed our today's event, we invite you to follow us on Instagram and other social medias. Our next encounter is on 8th of February. We will meet with curators Vanessa Müller and Rike Frank to discuss their curatorial practice as well as their project, European Kunsthalle. It's an institution without a physical space, something similar to how we have started as Tardino 2 years ago, but obviously European Kunsthalle is a much more experienced and longer in terms of duration project with a very interesting programming and wide geography. And the final lecture of our series, TAP Talks Incorporeity, is a meeting with Düsseldorf-based artist Misha Kubal, who will be presenting his artistic practice and a project of public art. So we very much hope to see you again. I would like to thank Thomas for his time and information, and I wish everyone on behalf of Cardino 6 team a nice evening. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for your time and take care, and thank you for listening. And sometimes hopefully we see us one of our online events or communities. Yeah, would be nice.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.